Welcome to the Blowing Smoke with Twister Rico podcast. We got Annie from Loki's Folly.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Do you normally do interviews? I think it's only like 7 in the morning right now in Minneapolis.
Not usually, no. I did have to turn off my alarm that wakes me up in the morning, so it wouldn't interrupt us here.
Yeah, I don't really even do. I interview a lot of older rock stars too, and 9 or 10, but 8 a.m. East Coast time. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I get up early anyways, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, Before we talk about Sisu, did I say that right? Sisu?
Sisu, yeah.
Your debut album on Kitten Robot Records. I was hoping to get a little history on the band. Do you remember when you first started listening to music? And I guess, you were probably first ahead of your siblings on this. And when you started to think about maybe this is something I might want to do.
Yeah. Um, I do remember being, a teenager or so and getting really into bands like My Chemical Romance and Green Day and just being like obsessed with them. And then I was like showing them to my mom and I'm like, listen to how awesome this is. This is so cool. And she's like, that is really cool. You should try some other bands that I think you would like because of that. She recommended like The Replacements and like all these like local bands that like really got me into even more like local and alternative like punk and indie rock and stuff. And just seeing all these bands, especially ones from here that just made it seem like so accessible and so uh like something that I could do and would want to do. I was just like, wow,
You have
I
a
have to
cool
be in a
mom.
band.
You have a
Yeah.
cool mom. Did she turn
Yeah.
you on to like Chris Skidoo and Babes in Toyland and bands like that too?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Lori Barbero was on the show not too long ago. I love her, the drummer from Babes.
Yeah, she is amazing.
I imagine you're a little influenced by them because you guys are a little noisy at times. So yeah.
For sure influenced by them.
So your mom started playing the replacements for you. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So did you like this music that you heard right away, or you were more into, like you said, Green Day and bands like that?
I was into those bands. I remember she had recommended Replacements. I put Let It Be, downloaded it to my phone, put my headphones on, listened it through, and I was just like, this is cool music. I think this is what I want to
Yeah,
go
that's their best
after.
one, I think. They got a
Yeah.
lot of good ones, but that one I really love. Um, When did you realize that it was going to be more than just like, I like this kind of music, I think I might want to start playing?
Um, I think it just started to get kind of obsessive, and I think that I kind of roped Nissa into by having her hang out with me and listen to music, and then we were both getting really obsessed with this stuff, and it was like almost felt hard not to want to do that too.
You're only 22 now, and this is 17, Oscar's 12. But you
Yeah.
guys, those are the correct ages now.
Yeah.
But you guys started like in 2018, I think, or something. So you were a lot younger then.
Yeah, yeah. Our very first show, it was my 16th birthday. So
Wow. So how did you, and at first it was just you and Nissa, right?
yeah, yeah.
So how did you rope her into this thing? Did you like, I heard you guys went and took guitar lessons together.
Yeah, yeah. So we both wanted to learn an instrument, both kind of had the intention of being in a band and starting a band. And she wanted to learn drums, I wanted to learn guitar. And we were both taking lessons from the same teacher, Ryan Smith, who then, like, after a while, it was like, well, why don't we just combine our two lessons, have one big lesson, and make the lesson being how to be a band?
Yeah, Ryan's played a pretty big role in this, so I'm going to talk about him. So Nissa wanted to be a drummer from the beginning.
Yeah, and she's kind of had a rhythm passion for, I mean, she's always been like playing rhythms on things, banging things. Enough so that like on long car rides, we had gotten her a pair of drumsticks to hit actually just in the car, just because she would hit things so often. It was like, well, it might as well be something
So when,
functional.
so when you went to Ryan, did he like, I imagine, did you know anything at all about what you were doing, or were you like coming from, and so I imagine that once he started teaching you the basics, he probably showed you cover songs and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Did
Yeah.
you, like, I took guitar lessons when I was 13 too. So I remember what that was like, and I went in there with a list of songs. Is that what you did?
Yeah, pretty much.
What was on that list?
Um, that first one was a lot of Green Day.
Green Day.
And I think some of the early ones we learned, like the two of us then we learned like Tegan and Sarah and David Bowie and the White Stripes, which I think we kind of latched on to being guitar and drums and kind of just being like, wow, that's a successful band that does that.
Did you grow up right in the city of Minneapolis?
Yeah, right in South Minneapolis.
So are a lot of kids your age like really into like, like indie and alternative and punk stuff?
Um, I guess it kind of depends. I think, especially with our generation of kids, it seems like it's a really like open basket of just kind of everyone listens to a lot of whatever they want to listen to, which is cool.
We're talking Gen Z, right?
Yeah.
I had another band on from Minneapolis not too long ago, the Scrunchies. They're really
Oh
good.
yeah.
Yeah, they're a little older than you guys, but they kind of play a similar style of noisy punk
Yeah.
rock. Um, so there were no other projects or anything that you were involved in because you seem pretty advanced. You just
Nope,
did.
this is both of our first project. And even like some of the songs on the album, like I think Castle on the Moon was the first song either of us had ever written, that we kind of worked together on to formulate ourselves.
And when you started recording, it was just you and Nissa, and Oskar still wasn't part of the equation.
Nope, he was still, because I think I was probably 17, 18, so he was probably 7 or 8 when we were first starting the recording.
Well, he's the bass player now, and that's not an easy instrument to pick up. So how did you guys rope him into the whole thing?
I think especially seeing us playing from like, I mean, our first show being 6, he would have been like 6 when we first started playing. I think kind of seeing that his more or less his whole life and kind of uh growing up with us, I mean, he'd come to shows with us obviously because what else is he gonna do? Um and I think that really inspired him to want to do it with us because we're kind of siblings that like to do kind of everything together. Whether it be, music or playing video games or
So
anything.
you're a pretty close family.
Yeah.
Because do you guys like fight with each other and stuff? Because I mean, I used to fight with my brother and sister.
Yeah, not a whole ton, no. I mean, I think when we do, all living together really helps. We're like, you can't be fighting for long because, see
And
each
they're
other.
still in school.
Yes, both
Are
of
you?
them are.
Did you go to college?
I went back to college, so I'm in college now.
Where are you going to? Where are you going to school?
Normandale, community college. It's a little ways away, but it's very
But
fun.
your intention is mostly to become a rock star, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
taking music.
you're already pretty far along the way. The first studio experience, and if I'm wrong about any of this, correct me. I believe was the Love Song, which you did in June 2019, which seems like an eternity now when you consider the pandemic and everything. And you actually recorded that with a guy named Ed Ackerson, and Ryan actually mastered it, Ryan Smith. So
Yeah,
he kind of was he guiding you towards
yeah,
what to do?
yeah, for sure. And he's been a really great mentor for all of us. I mean, in personal lives and in music lives, and it's just very special, I think, for all of us to get to have that connection.
No,
Uh,
he plays in Soul Asylum. Was that one of the bands that your mom turned you on to since they're
yeah,
also a Minneapolis band?
yeah,
Did you like them when you heard them? Because they're not like Slater Kinney and other bands that you guys sound like.
yeah. I like them a fair amount. I think uh, even though it's different, I think a lot of their like roots and inspirations are the same. And when you look back on like their first albums or any of their like time as like Loud Fast Rules, you can see the like similar world they came from.
Yeah, they have a lot of records out. It took them a
Yeah,
while to get their big hit songs, but
yeah,
once they did, they blew up.
yeah.
Um, so what was it like when you first went into the recording studio? Was that difficult for you guys at first?
Yeah, I think it was very scary for the both of us. And I think it was lucky we had like Ryan to kind of talk us through. I mean, he was like we're going to go in, we're going to make sure we're extremely prepared. Everything's going to be ready and nothing's going to go wrong and we're not going to have anything weird happen. And so we went in like extremely prepared and had our songs like ready to go, and we knew exactly what we wanted to record for them. So then we ended up doing, I think it was 3 songs in a half day.
Oh, you did 2 other songs at the first session. What were the other 2 songs?
They were Truth or Dare and I believe No Right.
Did they both make it on the record as well?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, because I thought that you didn't go back. I thought I'm looking at my times here, and it looked like the Little Mermaid was recorded in December. So the first time you did 3 songs, and then you went back in December and did more, basically, right?
Yeah, well, December I think we did in our basement.
Oh, you recorded that one at home.
Yeah.
So Oskar still wasn't part of the equation at this point?
Nope, not quite yet. He had
Okay.
he had his vision. He said he had wanted to start being in the band when he was like 6 or 7. So we were like, okay, let's start teaching you bass. And he was like, this is kind of too much. It's a lot to learn. I don't know about this. I think I'll be ready when I'm 9. And we were like, okay. So then on his 9th birthday, picked it back up, went back to learning.
Had you played any gigs at this point yet?
Yeah. We actually played our first tour, just me and Nissa too. Our tour with Shellac, which was in 2019.
What? I mean, I knew you went on the road with Shellac, but I didn't realize. So you went out just the 2 of you?
Yeah.
Wow. And was that a long tour?
It was a week-long tour, so not too bad, but exciting.
Did you go to Chicago?
We did go to Chicago. We had 2 nights in Chicago.
Well, yeah, because that's, Shellac's Albini, Steve Albini. Did you know who Steve Albini was?
Oh yeah, I had kind of, maybe idolized him just a tiny bit. So getting that email was like, what? Shellac.
So they emailed you guys to come and open some shows for them.
Yeah.
That's crazy. How do you
Yeah.
think you got on their radar?
Well, when we first got the like emails and we're getting the information, we're like, how did we get this? And then while we were on tour with them, we got to meet all of them, but Todd Trainer, their drummer, who's actually from Minneapolis and has a long Minneapolis connection here. And he had seen us playing around town, opening for some cool shows, and he was like, we should check these guys out. And he sent the music over to the rest of the band. They're like, yeah, let's bring them with.
It's incredible. Who were some of these cool bands around Minneapolis that you were playing with?
We had opened for Soul Asylum at that point.
Wow.
And then
So Ryan hooked you up with that.
Yeah. Well, he passed us along to Dave, and then Dave came to a show, and that was mind-blowing in and of itself to see him in the crowd and then talk to him afterwards, and he asked
Dave
us
Perner.
to open for him. Yeah.
Wow. So this all happened around 2019.
Yeah, 2018, 2019.
So I have to ask you this because you seem to have built up this momentum and you did some recording, and I'm sure you weren't on Kit and Robart's radar yet. What did you do when the pandemic hit? I mean, did you feel like, oh my God, what's going to happen to us now?
Yeah. Well, our tour actually led up like right to the beginning of the pandemic, where like each day more things were closing until like our very last date was the only thing that got canceled completely. So I think it was kind of more just like this whirlwind of like, wow, we're on tour, wow, things are happening, wow, I think there's something else happening in the world, until it kind of became this thing where it's like, oh, we're driving home and we're gonna have to be completely isolated now.
Being
I think it was,
younger, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
oh no,
being younger at that time and you heard about the pandemic, what was your reaction to it?
no. I think at first it seemed kind of unreal, especially being on the road, since it was kind of more of a like afterthought of occasionally seeing things on, my phone and then be like, okay, well now we're gonna go play the show, come back and then be like, okay, next show, someone's like, okay, we sanitized everything. It's like, oh, that must be something to do with that thing I heard about a little bit. And it
Wow.
was just kind of big jump back.
Did someone else go with you in Nissa?
Yeah, both of our parents went with us, so
That's cool.
that
So
was very
they're
helpful.
really supportive of your career.
Yeah, which is so nice to have.
Did they play at all?
They did not. My mom was in musical theater when she was younger, so she has, some stage experience, which, she can coach us on and help us with.
You mentioned earlier your mom gave you turned you on to the Replacements. Was your dad into those early Minneapolis bands as well?
Some of the Minneapolis ones. He was also into some of the other like 90s alternative, more in the, folkier realm, but good stuff.
Folkier realm.
Yeah.
That's funny. Um, in January 22, you recorded No Right, which I thought when I went through all the songs and the progression, I thought that was a real step up. Not that the earlier tunes weren't great, but this one really jumped out of the speakers at me. Do you attribute that to the time that you had to develop during the pandemic, develop your sound and everything? Do you think that's why you made this big leap?
Um, well, actually, all the songs on the album we had written pre-pandemic, and were like our set like on tour and things like that. So I guess songwriting wise, they were mostly thought out beforehand. Um, I think maybe during the pandemic we got time to do more like a bit more overdubbing, not a ton, but
Practicing, you practiced more
and
probably, right?
practicing. Yeah.
And then Oscar was part of the plan by then.
Yeah.
Um, so was it around this time that Kit and Robot came along and said we were interested in you guys? And how did that all happen?
Yeah, so it was during the pandemic. I think it was it this time last year that we got contacted by them? Well, and that came about because we had done a podcast, performance anxiety podcast, and he had been like super into the band. He was like, I'm gonna keep your information and, share it whenever I can. We were like, cool, thank you, that's awesome. And then a little while later, he was like, oh, so I gave your information to this label guy from this cool label, Kitten Robot Records, and he seemed to be really into you guys, so maybe you should expect an email
Was
from
it
him.
Paul? Was it Paul Rossler?
It was Bruce Duff, actually.
Oh, Bruce!
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
those guys have been playing in bands and around for a long time. Kira
yeah.
Rossler was on my show not too
Oh
long ago
wow.
from Black Flag, and she's Paul's sister, and they
Yeah.
played together. So, were you familiar at all with Kitten Robot at that time?
I was not familiar with the label itself, but I was familiar with like Josie Cotton
Oh,
and
Josie.
yeah.
So that must have been pretty exciting. All of a sudden, an LA label is talking to you.
Yeah, it was so exciting. I mean, we were all very, very excited about it.
Do you have a manager or did you have a manager at that time?
Nope, it's just us. I mean, Ryan obviously helps us a lot with things, but all self-managed.
Did you had to sign a contract, I assume, right?
Yeah.
So what did your parents think about this whole thing? Were they like, wow, you're signing a record contract? And I mean, you're 22, but
Yeah.
your siblings aren't even 18 yet.
Yeah. We did have my mom, sign for them too, just to have full full support and I think legal obligation.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
You
they were,
haven't,
yeah, very
yeah.
supportive of us.
So I was going to ask you about touring more, but let's talk about Sisu. It's a really interesting name. I had to look it up. And this is what it said. It said Sisu is a unique Finnish concept. It is a Finnish term that can be roughly translated into English as a strength of will, determination, perseverance, acting rationally in the face of adversity. Did you come up with this
Yeah,
title?
so we're all Finnish by heritage. So
Oh,
this is kind of just a word we've heard, sort of our whole lives as a concept. And then uh after going like through so many phases with the album and having it, survive through a pandemic and, a label coming on and all these different things and just like really going through a lot, but still making it through. We thought, perfect. This matches it perfectly.
That is really cool. Wow. Now, were all the songs already recorded like one time, or did you re-record any songs?
Um, I think we went in with the intention of kind of just going through and then going back if we needed to change anything. But most things are fairly first or second time through. And then I think a few songs during the pandemic, we decided to re-record the vocals just because our voices had changed.
Well, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. I know that you've probably, and first of all, I wanted to mention that's cool that a label found you through a podcast. That makes me smile.
Yeah.
If you weren't signed, I wish they would have found you through my podcast, but maybe the next band that'll happen.
Yeah.
Like it's really hard not to notice the similarities, and I'm not saying that you sound just like them or you're even copying them or whatever, but when I listen to you guys, I love Sleater-Kinney. I've been following their whole career, and more earlier stuff. I think you guys remind me. Are they a band that influenced you a lot when you were starting to write?
Yeah. They had influenced us a lot. It was kind of interesting because I think we kind of started writing before we had started listening to them. And then we started listening to them. It's like, wow, this sounds like the exact sound we're kind of going for. And I mean, I just admire them so much. So I think it's a honorable comparison to have.
Yeah, and also Babes too, because
Yeah.
they're very noisy. Have you ever met Lori Barbera? Because she's like one of the coolest people.
I have met her in passing, but never officially met her, but I see her all the time.
Oh, I imagine she loves you guys. I can see her listening to you guys and going, wow, this band's great. I mean, it's too bad Babes doesn't exist anymore because I love to see you guys play with them.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about Beaches and Peaches. The
Yeah.
video just absolutely cracked me up. Ryan recorded that one. And is he the one that got Dave to come down and play some guitar on that?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, that was Appease the Girl. Excuse me, hold
That
off on that. That was a different track. But let me talk about Beaches and Peaches for a minute. Sorry. So the video for that song really grabbed me. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, this is some really twisted. I can say shit. You're over 21. This is some pretty twisted stuff going on here. Who in the world came? If you're listening out there, people, or watching on YouTube, you got to check out this video, Beaches and Peaches. It's a mind-blowing video. Please tell us the whole idea about that video.
Yeah. So that one we shot with our cousins who live in LA and then we're in town. And we decided like, well, they're in town. My one cousin shoots videos and does like photography for part of her living. So we were like, let's shoot a video. And she's like, yeah, let's shoot a video. So we decided that one because it's kind of a fun song and then it's got kind of immediate visuals that go with it with, the title. So we picked a beach around here to go shoot at, and we kind of just assembled props. We had like some, storyboarded ideas of like, we should be eating peaches, we should be on the beach. And then a lot of it was kind of just goofing around and pulling ideas from everybody on like different shots and things to do.
I know Minnesota is often referred to as the land of lakes, but you don't think about beaches when you think of Minnesota.
Yeah, for sure. I think it happened to be an overcast day, which we were like, you know what? That's perfect. That's the Minnesota beach experience.
I got to say, my favorite part of the video was watching Oskar try and eat his peaches. He's having a lot of problems eating those peaches.
For sure.
And if that alone doesn't make people want to watch the video, I don't know what will.
Yeah. I think he also decided to do that partially because he just got hungry while we were out. It's like...
Wow. And then I jumped the gun a little bit and I started talking about Dave. He was on the song Appease the Girl. So did you know that he was going to play on the track, or did Ryan say, hey, I think I can get Dave to play on this track?
Kind of that, and partially he kind of wanted to be involved on the album a little bit. So we had like left that space open as a solo space for him, and then he recorded it during the pandemic. And yeah, it was a very special experience, and very honored to get to have him on there.
Yeah, you really have the Soul Asylum guys like very involved in your project, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
I
they're
I
great.
read a I read a review in Under the Radar about the song Trickster, and they said it's a tight, nervy, and punky effort soaked in distorted guitars and pounding piano. The band sounds joyous and rushes together, with Annie and Nissa bringing out both howling, rapid fire deliveries and sharp pop harmonies. And it goes on and on to talk about Riot Girl and Slater Kinney and all that. That's a pretty cool review from a pretty cool magazine.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Very exciting to have that.
I mean, if you found that the press has been reacting the same way.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of fairly positive stuff, which is really, I don't know, it makes me happy. I mean, you can say as much that you get, it doesn't matter, but it is nice to get compliments, obviously.
And Teen Vogue,
Yeah,
what did they
that
say
was
about you?
that was so exciting.
I think they said you guys were the band of Gen Z or something like that. It was a really incredible quote. I saw that in one of the press releases.
Yeah.
So you've already accomplished quite a bit here. Is there a real tour in the works, or is that going to be really difficult? I mean, school's almost out, so your
Yeah.
siblings will be out of school. Do you guys have a summer tour planned?
We've got some shows booked for the summer, and then kind of, generic, that would be cool if we can get it planned type of plans.
So what are you going to do? Just pretty much stick close to the Minneapolis area for a while until a real tour comes along?
Yeah, I think that's the plan for now.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
So you feel really good about the record and how it came out and the response you're getting?
Yeah, it's been really great. Especially because we put, kind of our heart and souls into it, of, our entire growing up period of time.
I'm curious what you're listening to now, because you've told me about a lot of stuff you did listen to. Is there new bands that you're hearing now that you're digging and you want to talk about? I mean, who are some of the newer bands you're hearing?
Um, I think we've all kind of gotten into Linda's just because they're great and they're also young and it's exciting to see them. I really like Starcrawler.
Oh, wow,
Um,
they're good. Yeah.
yeah, they're awesome. I think the visuals just kind of like make my brain so excited. um, I'm trying to think. I know Nissa is very into Florence and the Machine and Florence and the Machine's new album, which I agree is very spectacular.
So you guys are really on top of what's going on out there, because the Lindas, I can see that you guys playing together. That would be perfect. Starcrawler too. You would be great opening for them or playing with them. Who knows? Maybe they'll be opening for you someday. But where are you finding all your music?
Um, Usually just through like if I see something and there's more things recommended, I'll even, YouTube
Like
recommendations
you
sometimes.
like
Or
YouTube or Spotify or
YouTube, Spotify. Um, we all do a lot of record shopping, but obviously that often gets into older bands. Uh,
so you have a record player?
yep, right over there.
Nice. So you like vinyl?
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
love vinyl. I love
yeah.
vinyl. Are they gonna put you is Kit and Robot gonna put your record out on vinyl?
Yep, it is out on vinyl
It
and
is?
yep, a nice
Ooh.
bright yellow vinyl, which is very
I gotta
fun.
get one of those. Definitely. So I mean, you're gonna do some shows around town. Are you writing more?
Yep, we've got a good number of songs ready to go for, the next batch of songs.
What's the writing process? How's it take place?
Um, it kind of, switches depending on how we're feeling and who's writing or if we're writing together or writing separately. Lately, especially during the pandemic, I kind of got into learning some of the ways of doing like online recording and demoing, since before that we'd done it mainly by like, okay, I play this, you play that, which that's been a helpful tool to learn and
So
makes it a lot.
you're using like GarageBand or something like that and recording at home, and
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah.
That's cool. So what's your like real goal for the future now? I mean, is it hard because you know you're Nissa's, what is she, like a senior now?
Yep, she's going to be going into her senior
She's got
year.
another year left. So you
Yeah,
still have to wait a couple more years before they're out of school.
yeah.
So are you patient enough to wait?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So basically, you're going to wait for them. And when they finish school, by then you'll probably have 2 or 3 records out and you'll be
Yeah,
able to go on tour.
yeah.
That's fantastic. Wow. Well, thanks a lot for taking the time so early in the morning to talk to me. I really appreciate it, Annie. And I think you guys are great. I love your band. I love what you're doing. And I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you so much.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you.